Hi guys, good morning. My name is Dan. Thank you for watching Engelgeist. For those of you that are new, welcome. For those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that support me over on Patreon, thank you so very much for your subscriptions. This is the All Signs Daily Forecast for anyone who sees it whenever you see it. It is originally created for Friday, August 20th, but do not get stuck on the date. It is actually more important that you take the message rather than get caught up in the date. So you do have to figure out where this message applies in your life. If at all, I do speak in broad terms. So if it's a situation or a feeling or a thought that you're having, great, utilize it and utilize it to the best of your ability. If it doesn't, that's okay too. Please check out the drop-down menu underneath any of the daily videos. In there is all sorts of information as to what decks I use, how to get in contact with me, how to support the channel. Also, just some things I want you to think about whenever using my readings. So in your life, so keep that in mind. If you want to support the channel, please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed the video before leaving. Consider subscribing and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you get notified when I go live. Also, you can leave a question or a comment. You can share the video out with your friends, on your social medias, on your Facebook groups, or just tell your friends about me. It's a great way to support the channel. I do read all questions and comments left on YouTube videos, so keep that in mind. And let me see what's going on here. What information do the cards want us to know? Oh, interesting. The High Priestess, Pisces energy, also major arcana. I'm going to say this, not really the card I want to see. I love the High Priestess, and I love this card in particular. I love how it's done. It's a beautiful card. It's a really gorgeous High Priestess card. I would probably say it ranks up there as one of my favorites, to be honest. I really like what MJ has done with this. But what I am going to say here is that for some reason, she gives me a little bit of nervy feeling, especially with that death card. On Sunday's reading, which is the underpinning reading of the week, right? So we have that underpinning energy, or what's kind of going on, you know, the overarching theme or the underpinning energy, however you want to look at it, of what's going on throughout the week this week. We saw the death card coming up, right? High Priestess also being major arcana similar to death. Death is associated with Scorpio energy. High Priestess is associated with Pisces energy. Lots of sort of water energy. A lot of emotions could be at play. A lot of intuition could certainly be at play. Psychic insight, thoughts that we may be having, fleeting ideas, thoughts. Usually the High Priestess can indicate secrets potentially being revealed, maybe only within ourselves, right? Where we are connecting in and tapping into information that others may not have access to or they may not understand, right? There could be hard lessons to be learned with the High Priestess. And what I mean by that is not necessarily that they're painful per se, but like that they could be difficult to understand. They may take a little bit of extra attention or some patience in waiting for the answer to be revealed. Sometimes the High Priestess can hold her sort of cards close to her chest. She usually has massive insight. And the reason why I don't know why, I feel like a little bit nervous with this combination is because death is present. And death is this usually inevitable grand scale transformation of some sort, right? Where something has to die. And when I say something, everything dies. You know, relationships die, jobs die, feelings or emotions can die, right? They change, they transform. Generally, death, though, would indicate a loss of some sort, right? An inevitable loss, something that we can't fight, something that we can't change. With the High Priestess here, it says to me that some of us might see it coming. We might not understand why it's coming. We might not have, we might be trying to figure it out trying to get insight around the situation, and we maybe can't stop it. And the reason why I see it coming also is that eye down there at the bottom of the card, which I think is absolutely beautiful, but it also feels like she's looking at something that maybe she doesn't want to see, or maybe she doesn't want to, I don't want to say she doesn't want to have to face it, because the High Priestess is very much powerful. But the way she goes about doing things is usually, what's the best way to describe this? Is usually unorthodox, right? Because she's sort of more attached to spirit. She's more attached to that higher mind, that intuition. So what I mean by this is, like, when I'm looking at Death and the High Priestess kind of together at this end of week, don't be surprised if some of you are facing challenges that feel unfair or confusing. Ultimately, Death is a transformation, and the High Priestess is going to teach us and evolve us at a spiritual level. But sometimes spiritual learning comes at a price, right? Or it requires us to be present in a way that we haven't necessarily needed to be before. And sometimes it can feel unfair, or it can feel painful, right? And so we have to make sense of that loss or that pain. We have to sort of acclimate it or assimilate it to kind of our situation, and then make do or see our way through it as best we know how. We may be figuring that out in the moment. And with the High Priestess, she doesn't always give up all the information, right? She's going to slowly teach you, so that my feeling is that she slowly teaches us so that we really truly learn and adopt what she's teaching us, right? For some of you, this could be insight into a situation where you're seeing something or sensing something that could bring about that underpinning of death, right? Which is that sort of massive change that may be coming your way. You might have insight into it already. And I will say there is an empowerment to these two cards, right? There is a strength to these two cards. They are both major arcana, so this should be something rather significant in your life. But it's not necessarily going to, like, be, how do I want to say? I kind of feel like the elusivity of the High Priestess and the inevitability of death say to me, this is not something you can control. This is not something that you can fight in a normal manner. I almost get, and it's weird because to me, the High Priestess is not the most relentless card at all, but I hear the word relentless, meaning we may have to almost take this stance of the High Priestess where we withdraw in a way, where we hide our cards, where we go inward into our intuition, into our mind, into our, psychic senses, and utilize those to sort of try and make sense of the transformations that may be taking place, even though they feel outside of our control, potentially unfair, potentially unwanted. Ultimately, the High Priestess being here, though, it says to me that because she is a little bit elusive and brings with her, she always brings with her like awareness and good things, but we might have to jump a hurdle or two to get there. So this might be a situation that we're dealing with right now where in the end, post-situation or post-experience, we are having a hindsight is 2020 moment where we're like, now I understand why I had to go through that when I did, how I did, because now I know this. And that this for you may be different because each one of you are going to have a very varied experience of whatever or however these two cards represent in your life. Does that make sense? So keep an eye out, no pun intended. I mean, certainly the High Priestess has one there for you. Keep an eye out, keep your senses up in a way. It's not something to be, the High Priestess doesn't necessarily feel defensive to me too. I don't want you to be in fear. I don't want you to be defensive. What I want you to understand is that There's some sort of maybe higher plan here that maybe isn't going to make sense to your mind and your ego. That's the feeling that I'm getting with the High Priestess and Death kind of working together. Potentially in your space. If this doesn't make any sense to you, then it's not your reading. That's fine. If it does make sense to you, understand that whatever you might be facing, going through, or experiencing, no matter how unfair or unwanted or confusing it may be, allow it to sort of take the stance of the High Priestess where you sit back and maybe be more observant, listen to your insight, listen to your intuition, and trust that above all else, and allow the situation to sort of transform and show you what it wants from you. Even if it doesn't fully make sense in the moment, it will be for your highest good. That is also sort of like, to me, the High Priestess's energy. And again, if it's a little bit emotional, or if you find yourself having streaks of insight, realizations about people, where you don't even understand where they're coming from, it's just maybe, pure intuition. I wouldn't be surprised with that Scorpio-Pisces combination of energy that is working between these two cards. Both are extremely psychic cards. Death is certainly connected to the other side and that realm, and so is the High Priestess. So there could be some of that going on for some of you also. So just be on the lookout for that. Card number 6, which would be about balance, is believe and succeed. There's a new road here. I love, this always makes me think of the 6 of Swords, which is that moving to calmer waters card in the traditional tarot, because it's a boat, but we also have that light at the end of the sort of tunnel here. The boat is directed and it has a purpose. It has a place to go, right? The purple border on this card makes me think of spirit too, right? Spirit is purple is a color that I associate with spirit very much so. So this is going to be potentially a day where it's more about listening to our intuition and allowing spirit to be our guide. And when I say spirit, I'm talking about our guides, our God, or our higher selves. We need to remember we have our own spirit that we need to listen to at times, and we need to allow that in. The High Priestess is definitely a representation of that awareness, or that sort of consciousness that exists within each and every one of us. When we believe and succeed, we need to believe in what is going on around us. What was yesterday's? Yesterday's was something interesting too. It was like a dual thing like that. It was daydreams and decisions. So we will find our way out of whatever we might be challenged by, dealing with, or facing. And it doesn't have to be all negative either, guys. It can be a transformation that's quite positive. But I get this sense that with the secrecy of the High Priestess, it's not necessarily something that appears as though it is what it is. Does that make sense? Like, either there's a truth that comes out that we realize about someone or something or some situation that we are like, oh, I didn't realize this was going on. Or it's, we're being put to the test through some hurdles right now, through that death card, that the High Priestess is teaching us something that maybe doesn't make sense. And we need to trust our intuition, and we need to continue on the path. We need to move towards that light that we see in the believe and succeed card. We need to believe in ourselves more so than anything, in our own spirit. If we are finding ourselves to be challenged, we need to be at the helm of our own boat, so to speak, and allow ourselves to be carried. That ocean there that the boat is on is calm, but the skies are sort of dark. And to me, what I don't like about that is the ocean feels wide open. That's the thing that, and normally this card doesn't make me feel any sort of weirdness, but in some ways, the wide openness of the ocean makes me feel like we may not know where we're going. It may not feel like we're going or heading towards a destination that will bring us that balance, but that's where that believe and succeed mentality needs to kick in, so that we can better see that light, even if it doesn't seem very clear to us through this High Priestess death transformation that we're facing. Does that make sense? Remember too, I'm going to go back to the grounding stone for the entire week. The word is trust. So when we think about, trust and believe, you better trust and believe, right? Because we have believe and succeed there. Here's the grounding stone for the week, for the day. And interesting that this shows up. It's faith. And we saw faith earlier this week on a different stone, on Tiger's Eye. So whatever we're dealing with, however we're challenged, if we're challenged at all, or whatever we're facing, whatever insights we're having, whether they're positive, negative, or otherwise, we need to have faith in them and trust them, even if they don't fully make sense. We need to believe in them, and we need to understand that they are taking us, they're informing us, and they're moving us to somewhere that should bring us more balance and harmony, but we may have to face some transformations in the process that might feel unwanted or inconvenient or uncomfortable even. I think that makes sense. And I don't know if anybody will resonate with this reading. I'm interested to find out who is, because I do ultimately feel like even though the size of this transformation may feel rather large to me, it could be quite exciting in the end. So keep that in mind. It could be very impactful and positive on the back end of things. That is your forecast. I hope you enjoyed it. Please give the video a thumbs up if you did. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell. Share the video with your friends if it makes sense. And I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow on the channel so that we can see how we're going to finish this week out. It will be interesting to see what transpires after these cards here. And thank you so much for tuning in. I do appreciate each and every one of you as I try and grow this channel. Your viewership means the world to me, and all of my Patreon subscribers. Thank you also. All right, take care today, guys, and have a wonderful day. Stay in faith. Bye-bye.